In today's news, Pueblo, Colorado has been overtaken by the quarantine zone. New effects of the energy that has caused the quarantine zone will most likely not be seen in the town for several days, according to the reports we've all seen. The screen went from showing the news anchor to a full-screen shot that was apparently zoomed in. However, ongoing effects from previously quarantined areas seem to be moving with the edge of the energy. The zoomed-in video showed several gremlins with their stone-tipped spears entering the outskirts of a suburb. They moved to a house, checked on a locked door, then smashed the window so they could climb in through it. Once the gremlins were out of sight, the video switched back to the news anchor. We're warning our viewers. Reports say that these creatures are called gremlins. They aren't very tough physically, but the fact that they use weapons and are fairly adept with them make them a danger. If you see gremlins, we recommend that you flee and call your local emergency number if you have a functional phone. Landlines, as few and far between as they may be, have not had their function distorted by the energy, unlike smartphones. Tips for locating functional landlines are to try local businesses. They're far more likely to have a landline telephone than anywhere else. Now the full-screen video took over again. This time it was showing several small units of soldiers, all geared up. A few groups of the military have been trapped in the quarantine. These groups have been formed into smaller squads, and if they are close enough to your location, will respond to emergency calls reporting large groups of the strange animals and creatures that are present within the quarantine zone. These response numbers are being written out and dropped into the quarantine zone as possible. In addition, the landline phones still functional will receive calls with this information as well, in hopes to disperse it throughout the quarantine zone. The screen flashed to a series of phone numbers, each one listed with a different location following it. Call the number for the location closest to you to receive emergency assistance. These numbers are only for use to report aggressive creatures from the quarantine zone and are not for any other purpose. Misuse of these numbers will be subject to punishment. And here's the kicker. That punishment is to be determined by whoever is in charge of the responding military unit. While it brings into question people's basic rights, the quarantine zone has now also been declared to be under martial law, so those civil liberties are at least temporarily suspended. The numbers stayed up on the screen for a couple of minutes as the news anchor continued with his broadcast. Once they were off screen and back to the news anchor, he started with something new. In related news, several foreign countries are threatening action if the United States does not show more progress in containing this energy spread. Mexico and Canada seem the most alarmed, but are simply offering to assist, not threatening action. The largest bloc of countries threatening action are the USA's traditional adversaries, Russia, North Korea, and China. We now take you live to a report from one of our overseas reporters in Brussels.